Welcome back to the Ghosted Podcast. You know me, and I have an amazing guest here today to talk all about connection, which might seem like a pretty basic topic when it comes to dating, falling in love, meeting someone great. But sometimes this word connection and finding a connection can be very elusive. So I think we're going to have a lot to chat about on this topic, and I'm excited to introduce my guest, Emily of the Smitten School of Love and Matchmaking. Thank you for being here.
Hi, hello. It's really lovely to meet you.
It is so great to meet you, and I know you are joining me from like 10 p.m. It's the afternoon here, so thank you for staying up late for me.
10 p.m., 10,000 miles away, I think, on the winter solstice, shortest day of the year, which actually is probably the winter solstice and all of these celebrations which celebrate the seasons are a really good way to talk about the connection, because one thing about the winter solstice and the summer solstice and all the equinoxes, right, is that they bring us humans back into connection with the earth, with our planet, with the seasons. And this is the absolute core really of all of our connections. So I think over the last, let's say, 10,000 years, I've got 10,000 on the brain at the moment, but for many thousands of years, you know, humans have lived much more in connection than what we ever have before. So, we've lost the connection that we had before. We don't. You were saying earlier that this is one of your favorite celebrations, one of your favorite seasons, this shortest day, that right in the middle of Hanukkah, just before Christmas. And actually what it does, it helps us to feel human, to feel part of, to feel connected. And so that's where it starts, with our place on the earth. And then it comes into ourselves. So before we start getting connected with anybody else, it's quite a good idea, and I'm under-exaggerating here, to be connected with yourself, right? So very often we're looking...
Crazy concept.
And I know that you know all this stuff, but I'm just saying...
Oh, I know, but it's like, you know, it's a perfect place to start.
Yeah. Because oftentimes we're looking outside of ourselves for that natural feeling that we can just get when we're on our own outside in nature, when we're on our meditating, when we're on our own walking on the earth. So I think, maybe I've lost my thread a bit, but I think, you know, the connection that we have with ourselves and with the earth is primary, and then we go into connection with somebody else. And then we've got two wholes coming into connection with each other, rather than expecting or asking or wanting the other person to complete you, or to be, you know, to save you from yourself. So, I mean, that's the thing for me. It's always been about connection. I really love connecting with other people, but I'm not so good at that when I'm disconnected from myself. And I don't know if this is making any sense, because I know that I can kind of tend to go off on a tangent and ramble a bit, but maybe some of it is, even if just a little bit makes sense, then that will be worth it.
Hey, it's making sense. We got a whole episode for it to all make sense. So it doesn't have to all click just right now. Okay. And before we get to even dive more into this whole idea of connection, you know, Emily, will you give a little background on, you know, how did you get into the love business? What brought you here?
And I even changed my name by deed poll, which is a very easy thing to do in this country. So in 2014, I made that be my name, but that was... both of my great grandfathers and my grandfather all changed their name by deed poll because they were Jewish, and it was about assimilation. And there's a lot of stories about how they came to the UK and they changed their name. So I thought I'd just follow in my family footsteps and change my name too. But I changed it to Love because I started running events of love in 2008. And I don't know, but basically love is this kind of love is what everything's made up of, right? Every breath, every aspect, you, me, all of our thoughts, everything. And it's where we've all come from. So I wanted to run these events of love, which were about love in the universal sense. And over the time, people were like, oh, are these dating? Are these dating events? And I was like, well, no, these are about self-love. These are events about loving yourself. And that's what they were. But of course, when you're running events of love, people inevitably are going to meet each other. And people did get together, and I had 3 marriages, and people did fall in love with themselves as well. Oh, and I had this fireman, and he came, and basically because a lot of people came thinking, oh, love, no, I'm not cut out for that, or I'm not ready for love. This kind of fear around the word love. And I was doing that in 2008. And so it wasn't quite the same as what it is now, where now literally everything, there's so many events of love now. But people come and go, oh, actually, this love stuff, this is what I want. And so those were
no way.
These were just opening people up, opening your heart and connecting with your heart. Oh, I've got something to say about heartbreak in a minute, so maybe come back to that. But yeah, so it all started with the events of love.
Yes.
Because I had kind of been on this workshop where we'd had to, one of those personal development workshops where you work out, everything that you want to create in your life, and then you get it down to 10 things, you get down to 3 things, and I got it down to 1 thing. And that 1 thing was love. And the inspiration behind that realization was, right, I'm going to run events of love. So that's what I did. And I use a lot of different sort of magical tools. But one of them is a 9 energy system, which is based on the I Ching. And it's a bit like Feng Shui for people. And I always had this idea, maybe one day I'll match people based on this energetics. And that's basically what's been happening in the last year or so. So the events of love, my name, and the whole kind of love is the most important thing, and love is what everyone wants, love and connection. Okay, actually, you know what? I can actually offer something here. I can connect people, and I can connect people quite intuitively. And that's basically the story, how it got from that to where it's to today.
Amazing. Wait, and so talk more about the energies and how you use that to match people up. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, okay. So
without revealing all your trade secrets.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I've been studying it. I've been studying that for 15 years, so I can only give you what I found is like I am an intuitive. I used to work doing intuitive readings, and I don't know if you've ever worked as doing intuitive readings. Abby, have you done?
I've had one done.
You've had one.
Me.
Okay, you had one done for you. Okay, so the thing is that very often,
so I know a little bit.
Yeah, and then maybe they might be using some oracle cards or tarot cards, or they might just be literally just intuitive, connecting with you. That's the other thing about connection, right? So very often in the intuitive readings, one of the most the popular thing, the thing that we feel really we want to know, is this the man or woman for me? Is this the person for me to be with? Are we gonna be together? Is this my soulmate? Is my ex gonna come back? Or when am I gonna meet my next partner? Those questions are really common in intuitive readings, and really very often when I was doing a reading, those are the sorts of things that I was looking at with people. And the thing about doing the connection with the matches is that when you spend quite a long time talking to somebody one-on-one, you really do get really connected with them, don't you? And you really kind of you get a real feel for who they are and what they're like and what their patterns are and what their strengths are and what makes them tick. And that is really so similar to intuitive reading. It's kind of like taking it to the next step. And I was listening to another podcast the other day about a matchmaker, and she said that sometimes when she's with a client, she literally sees their person, like on them. She kind of has a vision, and you know, that is what human connection is all about. That we are all connected, and that if you are taking the time to delve deeply into somebody's psyche and into somebody's personality and into someone's soul, really, then you do get a really strong sense of what they're like, and the other person just appears in the kind of ether. And it might sound woo-woo or weird or magical, but it isn't. It's actually very scientific and very natural and normal. So what I do, and loads of matchmakers say that, you know, you can do quite a lot of practical things. You can search your database, you can go through everyone and headhunt and heart hunt for people. But ultimately, a lot of it does come down to this intuitive sense and this intuitive connection. And so what I do is meditate. And if I've had a consultation with somebody, very often, and especially if they're really talking deeply about the kind of person they want to be with and what it feels like, because I'm really into like feelings, how does it feel when you're together? That person becomes reality. And then I'll go and meditate and just let all the things that they've said settle within me. And then very often their match will walk past me on the beach. I mean, I live by the sea. They'll walk past me on the beach, or they'll pop into my head of someone. Oh, I just remembered someone I know. You know, I don't have a huge, massive database. It's mainly, 20 or 30 people. Or I'll think of like, oh, I know, I can go to that organization and find them. Like someone says, you know, I'm really into football and I'm into this obscure football, they'll give. So it's a very intuitive process. You're nodding a lot, so I think
it's almost hard to. Yes, it's like, it is so similar what I do too, where a lot of it is just my intuition. Like I'll talk to someone, I'll be like, wait a minute, this person is in my head. And I'm the opposite way, where I have a giant database. So then sometimes those database people are just like, hello, Abby, don't forget about me, because I'd be great for this person you're talking to right now. So I completely get it. I think it's honestly one of the biggest skills in matchmaking. And it's hard. It's been hard for me to hire people, because that is like the biggest thing you need when you come to this
I'm going to move to Denver, Colorado, and then you can hire me.
Let's do it. I mean, move here when it's a little warmer, though.
I think it's a little bit cold for me at the moment, yes.
Yeah, at the time we're recording this episode, just since I know it'll come out a little later, we're recording it the day before. It's supposed to be like -12. So if you're listening, we all survived that super cold day and we're here.
Gosh, I hope so. I hope we do. Wow.
I know. We'll survive. We'll be okay.
Okay, good.
So I know we kind of went on a little tangent there, but I obviously want to bring us back to connection. So my question is for you. So let's say you find this person, you run into them onto the beach, you set these people up. How often do you feel like people actually show up kind of how you think they will? Or, sometimes do you feel like people maybe go on the date and it's not how you expected? I'm sure that happens as well.
Oh, yes. That's really interesting. I don't know if you saw, I wrote that little ebook called Tantric Dating.
I saw a little bit about it, I'm very curious about that as well.
Which is all about this. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of things. So, and I'll do an example. So I think sometimes you're going to meet, you're going to have a friend who just says, yes, our eyes met across a crowded room, and that was it. From that moment on, we've just been inseparable, okay? And that does happen for some people. It doesn't happen for everyone all of the time. And for some people, that's why matchmakers are such a useful intermediary, because some people need somebody to connect them and bring them together like that. So if you meet someone and you go out on a first date with them, And we've got all these expectations and all these ideas and all these thoughts about how we want it to go and how we want them to be. And everyone's looking for that so-called elusive chemistry. Oh, well, there was no chemistry, they'll say. Oh, there was no chemistry. Okay, well, okay, chemistry is not always, first of all, if that, you know, chemistry is not always the thing that you want to be looking at, because very often chemistry is simply your old past patterns. It's your psyche recognizing something that's familiar to you, which isn't always what you want. Especially if you haven't had very much success in a certain style of relationship, and then you're just looking for that chemistry, but actually all it is just reminding you of a past trauma that you had when you were little. So one, let's just check in with what we think of as chemistry. And two, the other one is a first date can be really nerve-wracking. It's like going for a job interview.
Oh, yeah.
So to expect both of you to be like your exactly how you are and to come across brilliantly and perfectly on the first date is quite a big ask. So the whole thing, I would suggest to just slow down. And I say to people, don't meet once or twice or 3 times and feedback and then start to say, oh, there's no chemistry. Now, I matched up this woman. She met him. She said he was great. They got on really well. He was a really nice guy, but there was no chemistry. And I said to her, well, just meet again. He said, you know, oh my gosh, she was gorgeous inside and out. And I said to her, why don't you just meet again and give it another go? Because that's what I would say to everyone. Don't say, unless, you know, don't stop just because that chemistry isn't there. So the next time they met, she said, oh my gosh, Emily, oh, he's so handsome. And she said, there was loads of chemistry. So because she had gone again a second time, so she wasn't so nervous. She already had been through that process, and then they carried on dating, and it progressed from there. So this is the thing, to not judge yourself or the other on first impressions. Don't buy into the fairy tale romance or Hollywood movie. Don't buy into that mindset. Be open to who is in front of you in this moment and how you feel. You're nodding.
Right. Oh my God. I spend half of my day talking to people about how just because the first date wasn't some magical fairy tale, you know, because they didn't have you as their magical fairy godmother, you know, doesn't mean that you shouldn't go see them again. Exactly. We got the wand. We're going to get to the wand. But, you know, I totally feel the same way as you. It's like the woman is almost always like, I don't know, this, that, and the other thing. And the guy's like, wow, that was great. So it usually goes that way, where the guy's, you know, a little more open to seeing her again. And the woman is maybe like, but there were these few things that I'm still not sure about. And, you know, a lot of my day is spent saying, hey, give someone another shot. It is so unfair to judge them off an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. And what do you have to lose? I always say, people are always like, oh, well, I don't want to waste my time. I mean, what else are you going to do with that hour if you go meet them
waste
again?
it. And it's not cool. It's not wasting your time anyway, is it? It's basically learning more about yourself. If you go into a date as a way to learn more about yourself and notice how you feel in your body in certain situations and in connection with certain people, you nothing is a waste of time then. You're simply learning more about who you are. So actually, it's the very best possible so-called waste of time you could do, I think, especially if that's what if that's what you want. I mean, it's a process, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, I think everyone compares their dating journey to other people. They'll say, oh, well, they met and they knew right away. Like someone asked me and my husband the other day, they were like, did you guys know right away when you met that this was going to be a thing and you guys were going to get married? And I was like, absolutely not. I had no idea.
Right.
Sure, I knew that he was great and I knew I wanted to know more about him and he felt the same way. But like you said, it's rare that just right off the bat you say, oh, I'm going to marry this person.
It is rare, yes. I've got a funny story about a bat.
I've seen it happen a couple of times.
I've seen it happen a couple of times. There's a
Ooh.
funny story about this bat. And in the London Dungeon, there was this guy, and his job was to be hanging upside down in the London Dungeon dressed as a bat. And he was a clown. He's a professional clown, but that's one of the things he was doing. Right. He was hanging upside down in the London Dungeon dressed as a bat. And whilst he was hanging there, he literally said to me, he said, and because it's a big tourist, lots of tourists come. He said, and as I was hanging there upside down, dressed as a bat in the London Dungeon, my future wife walked in the room. This woman, he basically just said, he literally fell off the perch. She walked in, and that was he knew that was his wife. And so the stories do happen. They do. But I just had to tell you about the bat, really.
What? Oh my God. That sounds like an amazing job. Oh my God.
I know. I would like to do it.
Did he get off his perch?
Yeah, he fell
and
off
stop
the perch.
her? And was he hold on?
Yes, he did. He fell off the perch. He stopped her and he said, "You're going to be my future wife." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And then they went out, they dated, and they carried on dating, and then they got married. Of course, they're in a normal relationship with normal problems, but that is how it happened. I guess that's probably not the most helpful thing to say, because but what we are saying is that it does sometimes happen. But I guess you could say, right. Look, that is such an unusual situation, isn't it? We've all got stories about how that could happen, but it doesn't mean that everything. I mean, most of the most successful relationships I know is with somebody who's been met on a blind date, who's had the intermediary. That's another reason that I really thought matchmaking was a good idea, because most people I know in the best relationships have been set up by a third party who really knew knew them both.
Yeah. People.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it is hard because sometimes friends try to play matchmaker, and it can work out. But, really knowing what someone wants rather than kind of just assuming what your friend might want
exactly.
is a huge difference.
Exactly. And really knowing the person. You get to know them, and then you're like, what they're like.
Back to...
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned something earlier I want to make sure we come back to. I filed it away about heartbreak. You wanted to
I did. Yeah.
About.
Oh, my gosh,
you're
brilliant.
What that was?
Oh, you're brilliant. Yes, heartbreak. You. Okay. You're welcome.
This was at the beginning of the episode, but I wanted to make sure we remembered it.
No, it's true, because the thing is that, two things about heartbreak is, one, first of all, being alive, it's inevitable. We will have our heart broken. It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Second thing is that when that happens, very often we want to go in and close our heart. And I can remember doing this myself in 1986 when I was 16. My heart was broken. I had my first boyfriend and I was devastated. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm not opening my heart again, and I'm going to close it. And that's what we do, is we want to protect ourselves, and we want to put a wall around our hearts, because we don't want to feel like that again. But actually, it's counterintuitive this time. Actually, the way to a real connection, and the way to real love, and the way to really meet somebody on the level that you want to meet them and connect with them, is to actually open your heart and open your mind, so that you are open. And it's brave. You have to be brave, because in order to love, you have to be willing to be open and be intimate and share yourself with another person. So the thing about heartbreak is, it is impossible for the heart to break. Okay, the heart is constantly pumping. We're doing it unconsciously all the time. It is it's keeping us alive, but it also can be our barometer of how we feel. And so to close it simply means that you're just blocking any love that would come. So it's a really good idea to start to open your heart if you dare. And if you want to be in a really good relationship, it's a really good thing to start to do. And so if you're aware that you have been hurt and you have felt heartbreak, one, know that it is not real heartbreak. It is your mind telling you that it is actually start to feel and allow your heart to open will allow you that feeling of connection that you actually really want and yearn for. And that is how to get into a really good relationship, if you recognize the difference between that. Don't close your heart, open your heart. Got loads of exercises to do for that. But like one is there's a yoga exercise.
I was going to ask, can you give us one?
Yeah, but there's one which is if you do yoga, you might do it, but you can do it standing up. I'm going to do it seated so that you can see me. But basically, it's a very simple exercise, and all you really do is you sort of hug yourself. So you can feel whilst you're doing that you're actually hugging your heart, you know. And then
now I want to do it.
Do it, because it's also really good if you're sitting at the computer. Yeah. So basically, you want to give yourself a hug like this.
Okay.
And then you open, and then just open, and just really imagine that you're opening your heart, like, love, find me, come and find me.
Feels kind of good.
It feels amazing, and it's a lot of physical exercises have got a psychological counterpart, so it's a really lovely thing to do. So if you feel heartbroken, try this. And just see.
And if you're not watching this on YouTube right now, you should go check it out so you can see the video and you can see what we're doing. So go to the Social Modern Matchmaking on YouTube and go to this point, and you'll want to see we're hugging ourselves, we're having some fun.
And you can just try it.
That's very cool. I mean, it is amazing how sometimes just very simple things like that, you know, people think, oh my God, I have to overhaul my entire life. I need to go and, go on a eat, pray, love journey for months and figure out, who I am. But, just something as simple as that could help bring you out of a funk.
It's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. Yes, it's very simple. And there's nothing to be fixed. You just be you.
Exactly. And so, Emily, if people want to connect with you more, I know you've shared so much amazing wisdom over the course of this episode. How could they connect with you? How do you work with people? I know you have a very interesting menu of love offerings.
Have you seen that?
I did. Of course I had to go see it.
I do, basically, because there is the unblocking service. So if you feel that your love is evading you, then I work with people to love themselves. So there's a session you can have where you would be unblocked. And then you'll be ready to go in a relationship. So my website is called smitten.love. So it's www.smitten.love. And on Instagram, I'm Emily Jane Love.
Easy to find. So we'll make sure to put those in the show notes.
And I've got loads of free. I've got practices to open the heart, tantric dating. I've got allowing love meditation. So I've got lots of free resources and tools that you can get if you go onto my website.
Amazing. Yeah. So again, we'll put those in the show notes. You can go and check those out. And Emily, I know you just, responded. I reached out to you on a random DM on Instagram. So I'm sure if people have questions, you'll respond to their random DMs too.
Yeah. But you were called Modern Yenta. You were called Modern Yenta. And I thought that was just the most brilliant name. And I just thought, right, I want to speak to this. I'm going to speak to this woman.
Thank you. I was honestly shocked. I cannot believe no one had that handle when I got that 5 years ago. So I lucked out.
It's brilliant, Abby. I love it.
Amazing. Well, thank you for recording this with me on our shortest day of the year. I know this will come out when the days are getting longer and we're not all suffering from seasonal depression as much. But Emily, this was so much fun. I always like to end these episodes with a little extra words of wisdom. I know we've had so many, but is there anything else you would like to share before we go?
I think I'm just going to reiterate what we said about not making a judgment about the first date, and remember that we are the opposite of apps. So we're bringing things into the slow-mo, so we're slowing things down. So rather than expecting and wanting everything to be really, really fast and making a really swift judgment when you're swiping, this is about really connecting with yourself and getting into really loving who you are, just like that, just like this, and then allowing a connection to build with somebody else. So this is about slowing down and just cutting out the judgment of yourself and the other. That's it. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much again. And I'll let you go to bed. Good night.
Oh, yeah. I'm all hyper now.
And right now, you're just going to stay up all night and celebrate the solstice. I love it.
I could do. Oh, all right, Abby. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to me. It's just been brilliant.
Thank you.